All right, here we go. My name's Jeff K, and you're listening to episode 458 of the world-famous West Virginia Surf Report podcast.
Shit is way out of line.
How is it so hot, so fast? How did this happen? Like 2 weeks ago, people were walking around wearing jackets, complaining it was too cold. This is early June, and it's cold. Yeah, well, enjoy it. Enjoy it. It should be summer. What the hell? Now it's like I feel like the Earth has snapped out of orbit, and it's just hurtling end over end into the fiery sun. You know, it's just flying into the sun. You know, it's what it feels like. It's so hot, so humid. You know, I get in my car. Yesterday I went out there to get in my car to go to work, and it is the car. When I turn it on, it says it's 102. I know that's elevated because it's been sitting in the sun, but it's hot, you know, and it's too hot to even touch the steering wheel. I need like oven mitts to back out of the driveway. I put on my sunglasses that are on the console, and they're so fiery hot it burns the bridge of my nose. I'm like, the bridge! Oh my God, the bridge! You know, it's ridiculous. It's outrageous. And even when I start driving, it only goes down to 99. It's like 99 degrees out there. Hot. So hot. So demoralizingly hot. And it's so fast. There's no dimmer switch. It's just a toggle switch. There's no dimmer. It needs to ease. There has to be a slow transition, right? There's never a slow transition. It's just cold to hot. You know, here you go. You know, deal with it, bitch. That's what Mother Nature's saying to us. You know, God, sucks. But anyway, you know, I was talking to Steve yesterday, and I said, this is hotter than owl piss. You know. Which is a phrase that sounds like it would come from my dad. But it didn't come from him. I know the origin of it. My dad is the king of those kinds of things. He has a bunch of originals, and he has like some old classics that I've heard other people use as well, you know. Like the other day I was talking to him on the phone. He was complaining about something. I can't remember who he was talking about. He said, that guy's dumber than dirt. You know, he couldn't pour piss out of a boot if it had the directions on the heel. That's not a John K. original. I've heard other people say that too, but it made me laugh. He does have originals. I think they're originals. Like if somebody has, like somebody's telling a story and they include way too much information, way too much detail that doesn't really move the story forward. Some people are great at telling stories, and they go off on tangents, and But it's super entertaining, and it moves the story, and it adds, you know, some people are just really good storytellers, and other people can't get to the point, and they're just including a bunch of crap that it's unnecessary, and it's not entertaining. You know what I mean? But whenever that happens, he always says, yeah, he took that story all the way up around Fisher's hog pen, didn't he? The hell's that? Fisher's hog pen? The hell's that? I don't know. I think that's a John K. original, but I'm not 100% sure. But I do know where hotter than owl piss came from, and that's from an old friend of mine named Ed Hunt, Gary Hunt. I went to school with him. His name was Gary, but everybody called him Ed. Ed Hunt. He used to say that. hotter than owl piss out here. I'm like, what the? I never really contemplated the temperature of owl urine, but I'll take your word for it. He also is he also had another phrase that I use all the time, which I found to be hilarious: slicker than cat shit on a marble floor. So he's the source of two of my favorites. Two of my favorite sayings: slicker than cat shit on a marble floor. That's a good one. I love that. And one of my all-time favorites also didn't come from my dad, but it's in the same realm, same universe that he operates in. This guy out in California, named Mike Friedman. He worked in the same office I did. And he'd always come in and say, "This place is deader than Kelsey's nuts. What's going on in here? This place is deader than Kelsey's nuts." Like, what does that mean? I actually looked it up the other day. I said it to somebody, and I was like, I want to see, is that like a real phrase, or is that something, I can't imagine him making that up. So I looked it up, and it said, I used AI, Grok. I used Grok AI, and it said that it's a phrase from the early 20th century. And it was there was a company called Kelsey that made lug nuts. So it's kind of like a play on deader than a hammer, things deader than a hammer, deader than Kelsey's nuts. You know what I mean? Plus it has a good double entendre, double entendre. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good one. That came from Mike Friedman out in California. I collect these things as I travel through the world, I travel through my life. I collect things that people say, and I utilize them in my own, use them in my own life. God. Anyway, hotter than owl piss outside. I don't know. I can't deal with this. I hate this kind of weather. This is the exact weather I hate the most. People are like, well, it's better than freezing cold. No, it isn't. How is it better? How's that possibly better? No, it isn't. Like, I don't like that either, though. And why do you have to pick one or the other? Like, I don't understand why you say something about this sucks, this weather sucks. They're like, well, it's better than snow. No, it isn't. And even if it is, I have room enough in my heart. Why do you have to pick one or the other? Why can't you just hate both of them? I hate both of them. I have room enough in my heart to hate both of them. All right? Why do you have to pick one or the other? It's like the Beatles and the Stones. I like both. Why do I have to pick? Why am I forced to pick? I mean, the Beatles are obviously the better of the two, but, let's not get carried away. But I do love the Rolling Stones, too. I mean, you don't have to pick one or the other. Why do you have to, why is everybody trying to pit us one against the other in this world? I can hate heat, high heat, and I can hate freezing cold, too. What's the problem? I don't have to choose one or the other. I don't want to hear anything about that. I don't want to hear anything about, it's better than freezing in the middle of the winter. No, it sucks. I'd rather be cold than hot. And I don't like driving on slick roads. That's the worst thing about winter. I don't like driving on roads that are you can't count on it. You know what I mean? That's that's the worst. But as far as the weather itself, no, this is it. This is the pinnacle. This is the tip of the spear right here. This is it. Super hot, super high humidity. Sucks. You can pack it deep and on a slant. Okay, there's a Jeff K original. You can take that and pack it deep on a slant. All right. This morning I got up, came downstairs. It was too early. I don't know. I slept 7 hours, though. Slept 1 to 8. That's good. That's good enough for me. That's pretty much what I do. 7 hours is about all I could expect. went to bed at 1, got up at 8 before Tony even came up there. I don't know. I guess that's the way it's going to be. She said something the other day to me. It was very offensive. She gets up at the crack of dawn, before dawn even. She gets up at like 4 o'clock in the morning or something. She goes out and does stuff, runs errands. She gets more done before I get out of bed than I do in the entire day. But she says, when I'm out and I'm doing stuff, it's me and a bunch of old men, and so I think that the old women are a bunch of lazy old sacks. And the men are the go-getters. It's opposite. And I said, hang on a second. She was like, it's opposite in our house. I said, so you're calling me lazy and old? She goes, well, the shoe fits. I said, lazy? Are you freaking serious? Do you know how much I fit into a day? She goes, yeah, looking at your phone. Hang on a second. Wait just a flippin' second. But anyway, that's offensive. But she said the people that are out early in the morning are men, and the women are lazy sacks in their home. I don't know about that. I said, I don't know what to say about that. I said, yeah, when I get older, maybe I'll. I said, I don't consider myself old. She goes, you're old. All right. Well, there you go. That's been clarified, I guess. But anyway, I got up this morning. I went downstairs, and I was making some coffee. It was too early, but I thought, I'm up. I'm just going to make a whole pot of coffee. It's early. I got a lot of hours between now and leaving for work, so I'm going to make a whole pot of coffee. Sometimes the older boy drinks some of it, but sometimes he doesn't. But I figured I could probably knock down almost a full pot with all these hours. So start putting a pot of coffee on, and I launch into a sneezing jag. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on. There's so much humidity out there. Everything's just hanging in the air at face level. Everything just sucks. So I mean, they're messing around with the coffee pot and stuff, and I just launch into like a 10 sneeze daisy chain. They're all connected, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things where you're sneezing so fast, they're coming fast and furious, rapid fire sneezing. You can't even take a breath in between them. It's just like sneeze, and then there's no time to recover from it, and then sneeze again. And it just happened like 10 in a row, just pow, pow, pow. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, what in the hell? And my nose is running like just clear water coming out of both nostrils. It's just looked like it was like pure water coming out of both nostrils. Sneezing. Just connected. There's like connected daisy chain style. If you know what I mean. It's like I couldn't breathe. It was scary. I wonder if anybody's died from a sneezing jag. That's what I have to ask Grok about. Has anybody ever died from a protracted sneezing jag? A daisy chain style? Think it'll give me any information? I don't know. But anyway, that happened in the kitchen. I was sneezing and sneezing and sneezing and sneezing. It's because of this weather. There's all kinds of shit in bloom out there. There's no way for it to dissipate because there's like a dome over our life. A dome of humidity and hotness and sadness and suckness. The bridge! It's burn the bridge! Talk about burning your bridges. All right. Some guy at work, I was told about this. He didn't say this to my face, but somebody told me that there were people discussing my podcast, which I don't like. I don't know, there are people at work listen to my podcast sometimes. I'm not a big fan of that, I keep, two worlds should not collide. But anyway, people listen to it, I guess, here and there. And I was walking through there the other day, and some security guard goes, "Hey Jeff, love the podcast." I'm like, yeah, all right, thank you. Like, what the? Like, I don't even, how do you know my name? A, and B, what? You listen to my podcast? Anyway, what were we saying? Oh, yeah, somebody told me this. They came and reported this. People say stuff behind your back, and then the other person runs right to me and tells me exactly what was, this happens a lot. So he said that they were talking about my podcast, and the other guy's like, Kay has a podcast? He goes, I could tell you without even listening to it what it's about. What that's about. That's just hipster liberal garbage. He told me that. So I was told that this podcast is nothing but hipster liberal garbage. He hasn't listened to it, but just being around me, I guess, and knowing me, that's what he thinks it's a. I'm like, what the? This guy, what? I'm not even going to comment on that. You tell me what you think. What do you think about that comment? I'm not going to comment on it, but I'd like to hear your comments on it. I can tell you what that God, I keep saying website. I can tell you what that podcast is about, or what that podcast is like. Hipster liberal garbage. That's what it is. All right, I'll just leave that and leave it right there. I'm going to bring you up to date on my Amazon subscription. I told you I'm trying to simplify my life and subscribe to items and get them delivered on a regular basis. But the key to that, the hard part about that, is you don't know how far apart the deliveries, to set the deliveries. So I have two things that are coming to me in a subscription format. Number one, contact lens solution. I have to buy. I have hard lenses because of my eyeballs are all screwed up, especially my left one. Keratoconus, I got that. So I've had that since I've been in my 20s. So anyway, I wear hard lenses, and I have to have a special kind of. You can get it everywhere. You can get it at the grocery store. You can get it at Target. It's not something real weird, but it's something I need specifically for my contacts. And I always run out, and then there's like 2 or 3 days where I'm using like tap water, which is probably not ideal. So I decided to try to put that on a subscription, right? And when the first time I went on there to do that, it wasn't available as a subscription. But then I went back, 4 months later, and it was. So I signed up for it, and I set it at a specific. I don't know what it is. Every 2 months, I think. It feels like. I could be wrong, but you have to pick the cadence with which the deliveries are made. And I have that zeroed in. I just got a new bottle of it in the mail like yesterday or the day before, whatever day, something recently, and I'm almost out. So I feel like I got that zeroed in. That's correct. I'm getting that on a correct tempo, right? The other thing that I get in the mail on a subscription is Ivory soap. Believe it or not, you can't get that shit anywhere. Wow, that's not true. You can get it, but it's not widely available. If you go to just any place, first of all, they don't have like bar soap anymore. People, I guess, use like dishwashing liquid to wash their ass or whatever. I don't know, body wash or something. I'm old school. I'm an old man set in my ways. This is why they don't advertise to us. We're set in our ways. We've decided this is what we're going to do. There's nothing you can move me. This is what I'm using for the rest of my life. But anyway, that's what I like. I don't like stuff that smells real powerful. I hate that kind of crap. Damn, that shit's loud. Remember that guy said he thought that guy at Cracker Barrel? No, Waffle House. He goes, "Is that you wearing that cologne?" I said, "No. Why would you think it was me? I thought it was you. I had you, I had you pegged as the culprit." I said, "No, it's definitely not me." And he goes, "Damn, that shit's loud." But anyway, what are we talking about? I've said many times on this podcast and at my website, throughout my life, a man should smell like nothing. That's the goal, right? A man should smell like nothing. And I like stuff that's unscented or very, very subtle. And so I like the ivory soap. It's perfect for me. That serves my purposes. And it's old fashioned. That shit's from the 1800s. That stuff's from like 1920 or something. I don't know when ivory soap started being sold in the United States, but it's some shit from like probably World War I, somewhere in that neighborhood. But anyway, that's what I like. And you can't find it hardly. You can find it sometimes, but it's you're not going to find it at every store. It must be dying in popularity. So I set that up. That shit's coming way too fast. So I got a major backlog of ivory soap down there. But I don't know. Do you get subscriptions? Do you get stuff through subscriptions? Some people have everything coming on that stuff. People have that stuff coming in. They don't buy anything. You know, some people get like underwear on subscriptions. People get like all their toiletries and all that stuff. Some people get socks. Who has a sock subscription? I don't understand it. But, I think there's, the thing about that is that ivory soap, you can't find it. You need it. You're out. And you got to go to like 2 or 3 stores to find it. You can't find it. It's hard. It's getting harder and harder. I think they're going to discontinue it. And I'm going to have to be looking for something else. And I'm set in my ways. I like what I like. You guys could wash your balls with the dishwashing liquid. Do whatever. I'll use the old 1921 ivory soap. Thank you very much. But anyway, I'm going to have to adjust the cadence on that. I'm getting way too much. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. What else I got here? That's it. I do have a call that came in over the hotline, and we'll go to that right now. Here it is.
Jeff, this is surf reporter Andrew. You might remember a couple of years ago, I sent you an article about a woman who fell asleep in a sensory deprivation tank, experienced a bout of diarrhea, and was asked to purchase a whole new tank for the facility. I'm calling now because of your story about the warm Cracker Barrel iced tea. And that story, Jeff, sent a shiver down my spine because of something very similar that happened to me. And this, I think, was in the mid-'90s. But it mentally scarred me to such a degree that I remember every detail of it like it happened yesterday. I went out to lunch with 3 guys I worked with at the time to a kind of a diner or a luncheonette type place. And I ordered an iced tea. And when the waitress brought it, it had obviously just been brewed. It was clearly warm. There were a few mostly melted ice cubes on top. And as she set it down, you could actually see them shrinking in real time. So the waitress and I looked at each other, looked at the iced tea, looked at each other again, and she said, "Would you like some more ice for your tea?" I said, "Yeah, thank you." She left and came back a few seconds later with a literal handful of ice, reached over the table, opened her hand, and dropped the ice into my drink. I was so stunned I didn't say a word. The whole time I just let her walk away and never mentioned it through the whole lunch. And of course I didn't take a sip of the tea. The 3 guys that were sitting at the table with me either didn't notice when the waitress reached into the middle of the table and dropped the ice into my drink, or else they didn't think anything of it. So I waited till we left, and on the way back to the office, I mentioned it to them, and the general consensus from all 3 of them was, "So what? You asked for more ice." So, Jeff, 30 years later, I still remember every detail like it just happened, and I'd be very interested to hear what you would have done if that happened to you. and also your thoughts on my coworker's complete non-reaction to the whole thing. Jeff, thank you very much for the great work. Always very entertaining. Take care. Bye-bye.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. I remember that story about the sensory deprivation tank. Because I went to that wussy, that super secret wussy concert show. Wasn't a concert, a show in Philly, and it was at a spa that specializes in these tanks that you can get into and float. And it's like the same temperature same body temperature, so you feel like you're like floating in space. And they turn off all the lights and everything. It's like sensory deprivation, and you just go in there and just like, reboot your brain, And so Andrew called and was telling me some story about somebody that got in one of those things, and got so relaxed that their bowels released. And they had to shut the whole place down or something. They had to shut the whole. They had to drain it, and it feels like that. He told me that they were they wanted him to pay extra. They sent him a bill for lost income and cleaning charges and stuff like that. Anyway. I need to go back and listen to that. But anyway, so your iced tea thing, I'm with you. I don't want if somebody. I'm not. The thing about that is, I'm not really super prissy. I guess prissy more than pissy. I'm not. I don't get hung up on stuff like that all that much. I'm not a germaphobe or anything like that. In fact, I don't know. When people like freak out if there's like a hair in their food, I don't want a hair in my food. I want to be clear on that count. But people freak out like they dry heave and stuff. Like if they find a hair, I don't want it in there. But it doesn't. It's not going to cause me to have some kind of an emotional crisis, So I'm not real prissy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm not real picky about stuff like that. But I don't want somebody carrying ice in their boogery hands. Who knows what they did with those hands? Who knows how their bathroom hygiene is? Who knows where they scratched? Where they picked, plucked, twisted. The hands are disgusting. I'm not going to. If I saw that, I'd be exactly like you. I wouldn't drink it. I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't say anything because that's not really the way I roll. I just wouldn't have any drink with my meal. I end up paying for it, $3.50 for a glass of tea. But pretty much the same as you. I don't like that. I would not. And what kind of lunatic? What kind of waitress is this that thinks that's the correct way to do it? You bring it in a glass. You bring another glass out there, or you take the glass away and bring it back with additional ice in it. And I don't like that. What's the story with iced tea that has no ice in it? It's right there in the name, iced. You guys familiar with this? Iced tea. It happened to me. It sucks. I hate it. And it's like hot. But no, I'm with you. And your buddies, your coworkers, totally wrong. I'm not real prissy. But that's a bridge too far. These people, who knows what's going on? Who knows where their fingernails have been? Who knows what they've been doing? Scratching and plucking. You know what I mean? That's right, plucking. Who knows? There's no way. I'm totally 100% on board with your view of this situation. And I need to go back and listen to your sensory deprivation call, where the person was so relaxed, in such a relaxed state, that their bowels released into the water of I don't think I've ever been that relaxed. I've never reached a level of relaxation where everything just cut loose, you know? I don't know. It sounds like something, it sounds both wonderful and terrible at the same time. You know what I mean? Anyway, Andrew, I do appreciate your call. It's another good one. I appreciate that. I'm totally on board. You and I are on the same page with this. You can't be walking over to your table with ice just in your hand and dropping it in your... No way. It's unbelievable. Absolutely not. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. And we're at the end of this thing. We're at the 28-minute. How's that? I don't know, man. It just works out. Seems like it works out. The length of time just works out often. So anyway, so if you want to give me a call like Andrew did and tell me a story, ask me a question, share an anecdote, make some suggestions, whatever's on your mind, you can do it by calling the hotline at 570-290-8151. Is that right? 570-290-8151. I don't know, it seems off. Is that the right number? It'll be in the show notes, but I think that's it. And also, if you want 2 episodes a week instead of a measly one, you can do that too by heading over to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/JeffK. Sign up for a $4 or more monthly donation, and you'll gain access to a bonus episode every time we post one to the main network, like this one. Just a few days behind it, there'll be a bonus episode, a full-length episode for patrons only. So if you want to tap into that, you can do it today by heading over to patreon.com/JeffK. And before we move on to the next thing, I listen to this podcast, these 2 guys, and one of them pronounces it Patreon. Like they both talk about it. One of them says Patreon, which is what everybody says. Like I've heard dozens of people pronounce it Patreon. This one guy pronounces it Patreon. Like I don't. This is some kind of contrarian thing. What the hell's that? And he hears the co-host say it the other way, but he sticks with it, you know? It's like, do you ever think that you might be the one that's wrong? He probably thinks everybody else is wrong. He's right. It's not Patreon. Anyway. Also, Surf Report Pod. That's the website for the podcast. You can check that out as well. Expanded show notes, photographs, links, pictures, blah, 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 blah. surfreportpod.com. And we're at the end of this thing. Thank you guys for listening. I do appreciate it. Until next time, which will be over on the Patreon side. Hope you guys have yourselves a fine, fine day. I'll see ya. Bye. Hipster liberal garbage.